The morning light filtered through stained glass windows at St. Catherine's Church. White roses lined the aisle. Soft music drifted through the air. Emma Harris stood at the entrance in her flowing wedding gown, bouquet trembling in her hands. Her groom waited at the altar, smiling. Everything looked perfect. Then, her golden retriever blocked the doorway. Buddy sat directly in her path, ears flat, eyes locked on hers. He wouldn't move. Guests turned in their seats, murmuring. The photographer lowered her camera. Emma's mother whispered urgently from behind. But Buddy remained still as stone, muscles tense, a low growl rumbling from his chest. What this loyal dog knew would shatter everything Emma believed about the man waiting at the altar. Before we start, make sure to hit like, share, and subscribe. Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. 8 months earlier, rain drummed against the windows of a small house in rural Oregon. Emma sat alone at her kitchen table, hands wrapped around a coffee mug. The house felt too big without him. 2 years had passed since her father died, but the silence still pressed against her chest like a weight. She was 32 years old and felt ancient. His police badge sat on the mantel in the living room. She looked at it every morning. Detective Harold Harris had spent 30 years protecting people. Now, Emma treated animals at a veterinary clinic, saving what she could, trying to fill the emptiness he left behind. The coffee had gone cold. She hadn't noticed. Outside, the Oregon rain turned everything gray. Trees swayed in the wind. The driveway stretched empty toward the road. No one was coming. No one ever did anymore. Emma had inherited her father's cautious nature, his tendency toward solitude. After he passed, she'd pulled further inward, keeping her world small and controlled. She worked long hours at the clinic, came home to an empty house, repeated the cycle. Her colleagues invited her out less and less. She always said no anyway. The rescue work helped somewhat. Emma fostered animals between adoptions, gave them temporary refuge. But she never kept them long. She'd promised herself no more attachments. Losing her father had taught her that lesson brutally. Love meant loss. Distance meant safety. Her phone buzzed on the table. A text from the clinic. She ignored it. Rain continued its steady percussion on the roof. The house creaked. The refrigerator hummed. These were the sounds of her life now. Predictable, manageable, safe. She rose and walked to the mantel, touching her father's badge with one finger. The metal was cool and smooth. He'd worn it for 3 decades, through dangers she could only imagine. He'd protected strangers, solved cases that kept him awake for nights, faced down armed criminals without flinching. And then a heart attack took him in his sleep. No warning, no chance to say goodbye, just empty silence where his voice used to be. Emma pulled her hand back. The badge gleamed in the dim morning light. She wondered sometimes if he'd been lonely too, after her mother left when Emma was 12. He'd never remarried, never even dated that she knew of. Just worked and came home to an empty house. Maybe solitude was genetic. Her phone buzzed again, then again. She finally looked. 3 messages from animal control. They needed a vet at an accident scene on Highway 26. Injured animals. She grabbed her keys. The drive took 40 minutes through winding mountain roads. Rain made visibility poor. Her windshield wipers worked frantically. She passed 2 police cars heading the opposite direction, lights flashing. The accident site appeared around a bend. An overturned delivery truck lay on its side, front end crumpled against a guardrail. Broken glass glittered on wet asphalt. Emergency vehicles clustered around the wreckage, lights painting everything red and blue. A helicopter was just lifting off, carrying the injured driver to a trauma center. Emma parked behind an animal control van. Officer Stevens met her at the road's edge, rain dripping from his hat brim. "Thanks for coming. Doc, we've got a situation." He led her down an embankment toward the bridge below. Mud sucked at her boots. The sound of rushing water grew louder. Under the concrete bridge, huddled against a support pillar, sat a golden retriever. Emma stopped. Her breath caught. The dog was soaked, trembling, covered in mud. No collar. Ribs visible through matted fur. But it was his eyes that struck her. They weren't wild or panicked. They were watching, calculating, waiting. "We can't get near him," Stevens said. "Growls at everyone. Won't let us approach. But he's injured. Look at his side. Emma saw blood matting the fur along his rib cage. Not fresh, but not old either. The dog tracked their movements with eerie precision. The driver? Emma asked. Unconscious when we arrived. Critical condition. Truck was hauling commercial goods, but this dog was in a crate in the cab. Personal cargo, looks like. Crate was damaged in the crash. He got out. Emma studied the dog. He studied her back. Something passed between them in that moment. Something unspoken and ancient. Recognition, perhaps. Or simply two lonely creatures acknowledging each other's pain. Let me try, Emma said. She approached slowly, hands visible, body language relaxed. The dog's ears swiveled toward her. His trembling increased slightly, but he didn't growl. Emma knelt in the mud 3 feet away. Rain soaked through her jeans. Cold water ran down her neck. Hey there, she whispered. You've had a terrible day, haven't you? The dog's eyes never left hers. Golden brown, intelligent, exhausted. I'm not going to hurt you. I just want to help. She extended one hand, palm up, waited. The rain fell. The creek rushed past. Emergency radios crackled above them on the road. The dog rose shakily to his feet, limped forward 1 step, 2 steps, 3. Then he sat directly in front of her and placed his muddy paw in her outstretched hand. Emma's heart hammered against her ribs. The dog's paw rested in her palm, warm despite the cold rain. Mud streaked both of them. Officer Stevens stood frozen on the embankment above, watching in disbelief. I'll be damned, he muttered. Emma slowly moved her free hand toward the dog's injured side. He flinched, but didn't pull away. Her fingers found the wound. A long gash that had already begun clotting, not life-threatening, but painful. She also felt something else. A ridge of scar tissue across his chest, surgical and recent. You've been through more than just this accident, haven't you? The dog's eyes held hers. In their depths, she saw exhaustion that mirrored her own. Stevens climbed down carefully. Can you get him to the van? Emma hadn't planned to take him home. The shelter was the logical choice. They'd scan for a microchip, contact the owner, reunite them. Simple, professional, detached. That was how it worked. That was how it should work. But something stopped her from saying yes. I'll take him to my clinic, she heard herself say. Get him checked out properly. Stevens nodded. I'll need to file a report. Owner of record was the truck driver, but his family says he was transporting the dog as a favor. They don't know for who. The driver survived? Stevens's expression darkened. Touch and go. He's in surgery now. Emma helped the dog stand. He was heavier than he looked, solid muscle beneath the matted fur. Together they climbed the muddy embankment. The dog moved stiffly, favoring his left hind leg. When they reached her car, he hesitated at the open back door. It's okay, Emma said softly. You're safe now. The dog looked at her face, not at the car, studying her, deciding something. Then he jumped inside and lay down immediately, head on his paws. The drive back took longer. Rain intensified. Emma's hands gripped the steering wheel tighter than necessary. In the rearview mirror, she could see the dog's reflection. He wasn't looking out the windows like most animals did. He was staring at her, at the back of her head, unblinking. It made her neck prickle. She tried to shake the feeling. He was traumatized, confused. Of course he'd fixate on the one person who'd shown him kindness. They stopped. Topped at a red light in town. Emma checked her phone for messages. The dog remained motionless in the back seat. The light stayed red. Traffic was light for a Tuesday afternoon. Emma glanced up, checking for the green. The dog suddenly barked. Sharp, loud, urgent. Emma's foot hit the brake instinctively, though they were already stopped. Her heart leaped. Then a pickup truck blasted through the intersection against the red light, horn blaring, going at least 60. It missed her front bumper by inches. The wind from its passage rocked her car. If she'd been in the intersection, if she'd started moving forward even a second earlier. The pickup disappeared around a corner, tires squealing. Emma sat frozen, hands white-knuckled on the wheel. Her breath came in short gasps. The light turned green. Cars behind her honked. She didn't move. In the mirror, the dog had settled back down, calm, as if nothing had happened. That was too precise. Emma forced herself to drive. Her hands trembled. Coincidence, she told herself. Dogs have good hearing. Maybe he heard the truck's engine racing. Maybe he sensed her tension. There were logical explanations, but the timing. The exact moment he arced. Right before she would have checked that the intersection was clear and proceeded. At her clinic, she carried the dog inside through the back entrance. The building was closed for lunch. Good. She needed time to think, without questions from her staff. She set the dog on the examination table. He stood patiently while she checked him over properly. The gash on his side was superficial, already healing. No broken bones. Mild dehydration. But that surgical scar on his chest was extensive. Recent, maybe 3 weeks old. Emma had seen scars like this before. Cardiac surgery. Advanced procedure. The kind that costs thousands of dollars. Who spent that kind of money on you? She wondered aloud. The dog sat down, never breaking eye contact. She ran her hands through his fur, feeling for a microchip. Found the implant site between his shoulder blades, but when she scanned it, nothing registered. She tried 3 different scanners. All came back empty. That wasn't possible. She could feel the slight bump where the chip should be, but the scanners found nothing, unless someone had removed it. Emma stepped back. Her mind raced through possibilities. Stolen purebred? Illegal breeding operation? Fighting ring? None of it fit. This dog showed no signs of aggression training. His teeth weren't damaged. His body, despite being underweight, was well-muscled and cared for. "What's your story?" she whispered. The dog tilted his head slightly. His tail gave one small wag. Emma made a decision. "All right, boy. Just until we find your owner. You'll stay with me. Temporarily." She needed to call him something. Buddy, simple, temporary. Non-committal. "Come on, buddy, let's go home." The dog jumped down from the table and walked directly to the door. Not the door they'd entered through. The door that led to the parking lot. The door Emma was about to use. He couldn't have known which door. He'd never been here before. At Emma's house, Buddy explored each room methodically. Not the scattered, excited investigation of a normal dog. He moved with purpose, checking corners, sniffing doorways, examining windows. Like he was cataloging exits, assessing security. Emma watched from the kitchen doorway, unease growing in her chest. When Buddy finished his inspection, he returned to Emma and sat at her feet, waiting for instruction. "Hungry?" she asked. She filled a bowl with food, set it on the floor. Buddy looked at it, but didn't move. Emma remembered her father's police dog training stories. Some working dogs wouldn't eat without permission. "Okay," she said. Buddy ate, slowly, controlled. Not the desperate gulping of a starved animal. That night, Emma prepared a bed for Buddy in the living room. Soft blankets, water bowl nearby. But when she went to her bedroom, Buddy followed. She tried to redirect him. He sat in her doorway and wouldn't move. "Fine," Emma sighed, "but you stay on the floor." She climbed into bed, turned off the light. Exhaustion pulled at her. The day had been too long, too strange. She needed sleep. In the darkness, she heard Buddy move, not into the room. He positioned himself directly in the doorway, body blocking the entrance. She could hear his breathing, steady and elate. He wasn't sleeping. He was standing guard. Emma woke 3 minutes before her alarm went off. She knew because she'd been checking her phone obsessively for the past week, trying to understand the pattern. Every single morning, Buddy woke her exactly 3 minutes early. A soft whine, a gentle paw on the bed. Then her alarm would sound. Once was coincidence. 7 days straight was something else. She sat up in the dim pre-dawn light. Buddy sat beside the bed, tail wagging slowly, watching her face. His eyes gleamed in the darkness. "How do you do that?" she whispered. He tilted his head as if considering whether to answer. Emma had kept him for a week now. Just until she found his owner, she kept telling herself. But every attempt to trace him led nowhere. The truck driver had died from his injuries 3 days after the accident. His family knew nothing about the dog. No missing pet reports matched Buddy's description. It was like he'd appeared from thin air. She got up and started her morning routine. Buddy shadowed her every movement. Kitchen, bathroom, bedroom, back to kitchen. Never more than 6 feet away. When she showered, he lay outside the bathroom door. When she made coffee, he sat watching the doorway to the hall. Always watching, always alert. On Thursday morning, Emma decided to give him a proper bath. The mud had been cleaned off days ago, but his coat needed deep conditioning. She filled the tub, tested the water temperature, and Buddy climbed in without hesitation. As she worked shampoo through his fur, her fingers found more than just the chest scar. Small circular marks dotted his rib cage on both sides. Faint but unmistakable. She'd seen marks like these before on rescued dogs. Cigarette burns. Emma's hands stilled. Her throat tightened. "Oh, Buddy, who did this to you?" Buddy turned his head, licked her wrist gently. His eyes held no anger, no fear, only calm acceptance. But Emma felt rage building in her chest. Someone had hurt him, deliberately, repeatedly. And then someone else had paid thousands for cardiac surgery to save him. Nothing about this dog made sense. She rinsed him carefully, wrapped him in towels. As she dried his fur, she found one more anomaly. Inside his lower lip, barely visible, was a tattoo. Tiny letters and numbers. She grabbed her phone, turned on the flashlight, and looked closer. WPP K9 2847. Emma photographed it. Her hands shook slightly. Whatever this meant, it was official, professional. Government, maybe. She'd worked with enough rescue organizations to know standard identification methods. This wasn't standard. That evening, her colleague, Dr. Rajesh Patel, stopped by with Thai food. Emma had mentioned the mysterious dog, and Patel's curiosity had been piqued. He was a veterinary neurologist, specialized in animal behavior. Buddy met them at the door. Didn't bark, didn't jump, simply positioned himself between Emma and Patel, watching the visitor with unblinking focus. "Easy, boy," Emma said. "He's a friend." Buddy relaxed slightly, but didn't move from his position. They ate at the kitchen table. Patel kept glancing at Buddy, who'd settled on the floor exactly halfway between Emma and the front door. "He's incredibly disciplined," Patel observed. "That's one word for it. May I examine him?" Emma called Buddy over. He came immediately, sat facing Patel but keeping Emma in his peripheral vision. Patel ran through basic neurological tests, pupil response, reflex checks, coordination assessments. "Emma, his reflexes are extraordinary. I've never seen response times this fast in a domestic dog." Patel lifted Buddy's lip, examining his teeth. "And look at his canines. They've been filed down." Emma leaned closer. He was right. The sharp points of Buddy's fangs had been deliberately blunted. Why would someone do that? "Protection training," Patel said quietly. "Military or police canine units sometimes file canines on dogs trained to disable threats without killing. They can still bite with immense force, break bones, disarm opponents, but the filed teeth reduce the chance of fatal throat wounds." Emma felt cold. "You're saying he's a trained attack dog?" "Not attack, protection. There's a difference." Patel sat back, his expression troubled. "Whoever trained him invested serious resources. This level of conditioning takes years." After Patel left, Emma couldn't stop thinking about the filed teeth, the tattoo, the scars. She opened her laptop and typed the code into search engines. Nothing. She tried variations, different combinations, still nothing. Buddy lay at her feet, chin resting on his paws, but his eyes were open, watching the dark windows. On Saturday, Emma's phone rang while she was folding laundry. She set it on the counter, hands full of towels. It rang 4 times before she could reach it. Buddy brought it to her, picked it up gently in his mouth, and carried it across the room. Emma stood frozen, towels clutched to her chest. The phone rang a 5th time in Buddy's jaws. "How did you?" She took the phone, answered. A telemarketer. She hung up. Buddy returned to his spot by the window. This wasn't normal dog behavior. This was trained response, sophisticated assistance work. But he'd only been with her 9 days. She hadn't taught him anything, which meant someone else had, someone who'd spent years conditioning these responses until they were automatic. The following Tuesday, Emma brought leftovers home from a lunch meeting. Sesame chicken from the new Chinese place downtown. She was starving. She opened the container, grabbed a fork. Buddy barked. Once. Sharp. Emma paused, fork halfway to her mouth. Buddy stood stiff-legged, staring at the food. A low growl rumbled from his chest. "What's wrong?" He barked again. Didn't move toward the food, wouldn't stop staring at it. Emma set down her fork, examined the chicken. It looked fine, smelled fine, but Buddy's reaction made her nervous. She grabbed the container, sniffed more carefully. Nothing obviously wrong. She put it in the refrigerator, made a sandwich instead. The next morning, she opened the fridge. The chicken had grown a layer of fuzzy mold overnight. Food poisoning waiting to happen. She would have been violently ill if she'd eaten it. Emma stared at Buddy. You knew. He wagged his tail once. On Wednesday evening, Emma took Buddy for a walk through the neighborhood. The sun was setting, painting everything gold and orange. Buddy walked perfectly at heel, no leash needed. They passed Mrs. Chen's house. Her German shepherd, Max, was in the yard. Max saw them and charged the fence, barking furiously. He was massive, aggressive, known for intimidating every dog in the area. Buddy stopped, didn't bark back, didn't cower, simply turned his head and looked directly into Max's eyes. The German shepherd's barking cut off mid-sound. His ears flattened. He backed away from the fence, whimpering, and retreated to his doghouse. Mrs. Chen stood on her porch, mouth open in shock. What just happened? Emma had no answer. She'd never seen a dog back down from Max, ever. That night, she sat on her couch with her laptop, Buddy's head resting on her knee. She pulled up the photo of his lip tattoo, WPP K9 2847. She'd avoided this next step, worried about what she might find. But she needed answers. She called the non-emergency line for the county animal services, got transferred twice, finally reached someone in federal services. I found a dog with an unusual identification code, Emma said carefully. I'm trying to locate the owner. What's the code? Emma read it. There was a long pause. Where did you find this dog? The woman's voice had changed. Sharp. Alert. A highway accident last week. Why? What does the code mean? Hold, please. Music played. Emma waited. Buddy raised his head, ears swiveling toward the phone. A male voice came on. Deeper. Official. This is Marshall Rodriguez, with the U.S. Marshals Service K9 unit. That code is classified. I need to know exactly where. You found that animal and your current location. Emma's heart hammered. U.S. Marshals, federal government. She hung up. Emma stared at the phone in her hand. Her pulse thundered in her ears. U.S. Marshals, classified code. She'd stumbled into something far bigger than a lost dog. Buddy stood, body tense, eyes fixed on the front door. He'd sensed her fear instantly. It's okay, she whispered, though it clearly wasn't. She paced the living room, trying to think. The Marshals Service handled witness protection, fugitive cases, federal prisoner transport. Why would they have K9 units, and why would Buddy's code be classified? Her laptop still sat open on the coffee table. She returned to it, typed U.S. Marshals K9 program into the search bar. Found basic information about court security dogs, fugitive tracking teams, nothing about witness protection, nothing classified. She looked at Buddy. He'd returned to his position by the window, but his ears stayed back, listening to every sound outside. Who are you really? He didn't answer, just kept watching. Emma made a decision. If the government wanted Buddy back, they'd have to explain why first. She wasn't handing him over to strangers, badge or no badge. Not until she understood what she'd gotten involved in. She closed the laptop, checked that all doors were locked, drew the curtains. That night, she barely slept. Every car that passed made her jump. Every creak of the house settling brought her heart into her throat. Buddy never left his post by her bedroom door. She wondered if he slept at all. Morning came cold and gray. Emma called in sick to work. She needed time to figure this out. At 9 o'clock, her laptop pinged with an email notification. Unknown sender. No subject line. Emma hesitated, cursor hovering over the delete button. Could be spam. Could be a virus. Could be. She opened it. The email contained no text, just a single attached file, a PDF document marked with official U.S. government seals. Her hands trembled as she downloaded it. The file opened. At the top, in bold letters, classified, for official use only. Below that, a photograph. A golden retriever, younger than Buddy, but unmistakably the same dog. He wore a tactical vest, sat at attention beside a woman in a U.S. Marshal's uniform. The woman was smiling, hand resting on the dog's head. Her name badge read, Deputy Marshal C. Fisher. Emma scrolled down, found a mission brief. K9 Asset Designation, Atlas. Handler, Deputy Marshal Caroline Fisher. Assignment, Witness Protection Special Operations. Status, active. She kept reading. Her stomach tightened with every line. Atlas had been trained from 8 weeks old for high-risk witness protection work. His abilities included threat detection, explosive and weapon identification, defensive protection, and something called deception recognition. The document claimed he could identify lies through micro-expressions and stress signals. That explained so much. The constant watching, the assessment of everyone he met, the way he'd stared at the Chinese food, somehow knowing it had gone bad. Emma scrolled further, found a mission report dated 6 weeks earlier. Safe house breach, rural Montana, 3 protected witnesses. Deputy Marshal Fisher was the primary protection officer. Someone had leaked the location. Armed assault, middle of the night. The report was clinical, detached, but Emma could read between the lines. Fisher had died defending her witnesses. All 3 witnesses were killed anyway. Atlas had disappeared during the attack. Blood evidence suggested he'd been injured. Search teams found nothing, presumed dead or captured by hostiles. But he wasn't dead. He'd survived, escaped somehow, made his way across 3 states until a truck accident stranded him under a bridge in Oregon. Emma looked at Buddy. No, Atlas. His real name was Atlas. He watched her steadily, as if waiting for her to understand. "You've been trying to get somewhere, haven't you?" she said softly. "You weren't lost. You were traveling." The email contained one more attachment. Emma opened it. A photograph of her father, in his police. In uniform, standing with 3 other officers. The photo was old, maybe 15 years. She recognized it from a case he'd worked on. A major drug trafficking bust that had made regional news. Why would this file include her father's photo? She read the caption beneath. Detective Harold Harris, lead investigator, Volkov Crime Family Prosecution. Emma's blood went cold. Her father had worked that case for 2 years. It had been his biggest success, taking down an entire criminal network. He'd put 6 people in prison, including the family patriarch. She scrolled to the final page of the document, a list of names, protected witnesses from her father's case. 3 names, all with deceased marked beside them. And then a note in red text. Volkov organization suspected in ongoing retaliation campaign. All connected law enforcement personnel advised to maintain security protocols. Emma sat back, mind racing. Her father had died 2 years ago. Natural causes, the doctors said. Heart attack in his sleep. But now she wondered, had it really been natural? Atlas moved from his position by the window, came to sit directly in front of her, head tilted, studying her face. "You were looking for me," Emma whispered. "Not randomly. You were trying to reach me specifically." It made terrible sense. Her address would have been in her father's old case files. If Atlas had access to those files during his training, if he'd been taught to recognize faces from photographs. A knock at the door made them both freeze. Emma's heart slammed against her ribs. Atlas immediately positioned himself between her and the door. His hackles rose. A low growl built in his chest. "Dr. Harris?" A male voice, calm and professional. "Marshal Rodriguez, I'd like to speak with you about the dog." Emma didn't move, didn't breathe. "I know you're home, doctor." "Your car is in the driveway. I'm not here to take him by force. I just want to talk." Atlas's growl deepened. Emma stood slowly, walked to the door but didn't open it. "How did you find me?" "The phone call last night traced to this address, and honestly, it wasn't hard. There's only one veterinarian named Emma Harris in Oregon, whose father was Detective Harold Harris." Emma's hand rested on the doorknob. "What do you want?" "To explain, to make sure you understand what you're protecting. I know what he is. I read the file." Silence on the other side of the door. Then, "What file?" "Someone emailed it to me this morning. Mission reports, handler information, everything." More silence. When Rodriguez spoke again, his voice carried an edge. "I didn't send any file. That information is classified. If someone's leaking documents, we have a serious problem." Emma's mind spun. If Rodriguez didn't send it, who did? "Please," Rodriguez said, 5 minutes. "I have information you need to hear. About your father, about why Atlas ended up here." Emma looked at Atlas. He'd stopped growling but remained tense, ready. She made a choice, unlocked the door, opened it slowly. Marshal Rodriguez stood on her porch. Mid-40s, Hispanic, tired eyes. He wore casual clothes, not a uniform. His hands were visible, empty. "Thank you," he said. Emma stepped aside. Rodriguez entered carefully, movements deliberate and non-threatening. Atlas tracked him with laser focus but didn't attack. Rodriguez looked at the dog. Something flickered across his face. Relief, maybe. Or grief. Atlas, he said softly. We thought we lost you. Atlas didn't react, kept watching. Rodriguez turned to Emma. Your father saved 17 lives with his investigation. The Volkov family never forgave him. After he died, we flagged you as a potential target, but there was no active threat. No reason to assign protection. Until now, Emma finished. Rodriguez nodded grimly. 6 weeks ago, the Montana safe house was hit. Professional team. They were looking for something specific in our files. Witness lists from old cases, including your father's. Emma felt sick. They wanted to know who testified against them. And who helped put them away. Prosecutors, judges, investigators. Rodriguez paused. Investigators, aiders, families. The words hung in the air like smoke. Emma's hands went numb. You're saying they're coming after me. Rodriguez's expression was grave. We don't know for certain. But Atlas does. He's been trained to recognize faces from case files. If he traveled 3 states to reach you, he had a reason. Atlas remained motionless between them, ears forward, listening. After the breach, we assumed Atlas died with Deputy Fisher. But he escaped somehow. Rodriguez's voice softened. He was injured, alone, and instead of seeking safety, he came here. To you. Emma looked at the dog who'd blocked a church doorway in her future. The dog who'd saved her from running a red light. Who'd known the food was spoiled. Who watched every person with suspicion. What do I do? Let me take him back. We'll assign protection for you until we neutralize the threat. Emma's chest tightened. No. Dr. Harris. He chose to come here. He's staying. Rodriguez opened his mouth to argue, then stalked. He studied her face for a long moment. You're as stubborn as your father was. So I've been told. Rodriguez pulled a card from his pocket. My direct number. If anything unusual happens, call immediately. Don't wait. Don't try to handle it yourself. Emma took the card. What should I watch for? New people in your life who seem too interested. Strangers asking questions about your father. Anyone who makes Atlas react. He glanced at the dog. Trust his instincts. They're better than yours. After Rodriguez left, Emma locked the door and leaned against it. Her whole body trembled. 2 weeks ago, her biggest concern was loneliness. Now, she was a potential target for a crime family. Atlas came to her side, pressed his weight against her legs. Solid, real, protective. We'll be okay, she whispered, trying to convince herself. 3 months passed. Emma hyper-focused on routine. Work, home, repeat. She varied her routes, checked door locks obsessively, avoided crowded places. Atlas never left her side. At the clinic, he lay under her desk. At home, he checked every room before letting her enter. She was lonely, but she was safe. Then David Chen walked into her life. It was a Tuesday afternoon. Emma sat in the corner coffee shop on Main Street, reviewing patient files. Atlas lay at her feet, head on his paws. The cafe was nearly empty. Rain pattered against the windows. A man's voice interrupted her concentration. Excuse me, is this seat taken? Emma looked up. Mid-30s, Asian features, kind eyes, warm smile. He held a coffee cup and a laptop bag. Go ahead, Emma said. He sat down at the next table, opened his laptop, worked quietly. Emma returned to her files. 10 minutes later, his voice came again. I'm sorry, I don't usually do this, but I have to ask. Are you Dr. Emma Harris? Emma's guard went up instantly. Atlas's head lifted. Yes, I thought so. My sister brings her cat to your clinic, Sammy, the orange tabby. She says you're amazing with him. Emma relaxed slightly. She did treat an orange cat named Sammy. Oh, thank you. I'm David Chen. I just moved here for work, pharmaceutical sales. He extended his hand. Emma shook it. His grip was warm, confident. Atlas sniffed his direction, but didn't growl. They talked for 20 minutes. David was charming, funny, easy to talk to. He'd grown up in Portland, loved hiking, enjoyed bad action movies. He asked about her work with genuine interest, never pushed, never pried into personal topics. When Emma finally packed up to leave, David stood too. This might be forward, But would you like to have dinner sometime? There's a new Italian place I've been wanting to try. Emma hesitated. She hadn't dated since her father died. Hadn't wanted to. But David seemed nice. Normal. Safe. Atlas sat quietly, watching David with calm attention. No warning signs. Sure, Emma heard herself say. That sounds nice. David's smile widened. Great, how about Friday? They exchanged numbers. Emma left feeling lighter than she had in months. Maybe life could be normal again. Maybe she could let someone in. Atlas walked beside her to the car, silent and observant. Friday's dinner went perfectly. David was attentive, interesting, made her laugh. He asked about Atlas, seemed charmed by the dog's presence in her life. They discovered shared interests in mystery novels and terrible reality TV. Emma felt herself opening up, carefully, gradually, sharing pieces of herself she'd kept locked away. They started seeing each other regularly, coffee dates, movie nights, long walks. David fit into her life seamlessly. He never questioned her routines, never pushed her boundaries. He was patient with her caution, understanding about her need for space. Atlas tolerated him, never growled, never blocked him, but never warmed to him either. Maintained a careful distance, always watching. Emma told herself it was normal. Atlas was protective. He'd warm up eventually. 6 months passed like a dream. Emma felt happiness she'd forgotten was possible. David talked about the future, meeting her mother, taking a vacation together, building something real. Then one evening he proposed. They were at the beach, watching the sunset paint the ocean in shades of gold and pink. David knelt in the sand, ring box open, eyes hopeful. Emma Harris, you've brought light back into my world. Will you marry me? Emma's heart soared. Yes, yes, absolutely yes. They set a date, 3 months away. Small ceremony at St. Catherine's Church. Reception at a local inn. Simple. Perfect. Emma's mother flew in to help with planning. Friends from the clinic offered assistance. Everything fell into place effortlessly. But Atlas changed. He became increasingly vigilant, refused to let David enter rooms first, positioned himself constantly between Emma and her fiancé. At night, his restlessness kept Emma awake. He paced, whined softly, stared at the front door. He's just adjusting to the changes, David said when Emma mentioned it. Dogs can sense stress. He probably picks up on wedding planning anxiety. That made sense. Emma was stressed. Planning a wedding while running a clinic was exhausting. But deep down, something nagged at her. 2 weeks before the wedding, Emma woke at 3 in the morning. Atlas was growling, low, continuous, directed at the window. Emma sat up, heart racing. What is it? Atlas didn't break his focus. Outside, she heard nothing. No cars, no voices, just normal night sounds. She got up, looked through the curtain. The street was empty, dark, still. There's nothing there, buddy. Come back to bed. Atlas wouldn't move. The next morning, Emma found footprints in the flower bed beneath her bedroom window. Fresh, large, boot treads. She called Rodriguez immediately. He arrived within an hour with 2 other marshals. They photographed the prints, searched the property, found nothing else. Could be a prowler, Rodriguez said. Could be kids, but I don't like it. Should I postpone the wedding? Rodriguez hesitated. That's your call. We have no concrete evidence of threat. Just be vigilant. Keep Atlas close. 1 week before the wedding, Emma was working late at the clinic, finishing up inventory. Atlas lay under her desk as usual. The building is empty. Staff gone home hours ago. She heard a sound from the front office, a door closing. Atlas was on his feet instantly, ears flat, teeth bared. Hello? Emma called out. We're closed. Footsteps approached. David appeared in the doorway, smiling. Hey, sorry, I knocked but you didn't hear. Brought you dinner. He held up a takeout bag. Emma's racing heart slowed. You scared me. Sorry. David stepped into the office. Atlas growled, loud, threatening. Atlas, enough, Emma said sharply. It's David. But Atlas didn't stop. He moved between them, hackles raised, body rigid. David stopped walking. His smile faltered. What's gotten into him? Emma grabbed Atlas's collar. I don't know, he's been off all week. She pulled Atlas back. He resisted, still growling. David stayed frozen in the doorway. "Maybe I should go," David said. "Let him calm down." After David left, Emma sat on the floor with Atlas. He was shaking. "What's wrong with you? He's not a threat. He's my fiancé." Atlas wouldn't meet. Her eyes just kept staring at the door where David had stood. That night, Emma couldn't sleep. She reviewed everything in her mind. Atlas's behavior, the footprints, the feeling that something was wrong. She got up, went to her father's study. She'd kept all his old case files, couldn't bring herself to throw them away. Boxes of documents, photos, reports. She pulled out the Volkov case file, flipped through arrest photos, witness statements, evidence logs. Then she saw it. A surveillance photo from 15 years ago. A young man, maybe 20, standing beside Viktor Volkov outside a warehouse. The caption identified him. Dmitry Volkov, nephew, suspected enforcer. Emma's blood turned to ice. The face was younger, clean-shaven instead of bearded. Different hair. But the eyes were the same. The exact same eyes she'd stared into across a dinner table for 6 months. David Chen was Dmitry Volkov. The photograph slipped from Emma's trembling hands. Her vision tunneled. Black spots danced at the edges. She couldn't breathe. David was Dmitry Volkov, the man she'd agreed to marry, the man she'd let into her home, her life, her heart. He was the nephew of the crime boss her father had destroyed. Atlas appeared at her side, pressing against her legs, anchoring her to reality. Emma's mind raced backward through 6 months of memories. Every coffee date, every intimate conversation, every moment she'd felt safe in his arms. All of it a lie, a carefully constructed trap. She grabbed her phone, dialed Rodriguez with shaking fingers. "Harris, it's 4 a.m. David Chen is Dmitry Volkov." Her voice cracked. "He's been playing me for 6 months." Silence. Then Rodriguez's voice, sharp and awake. "Are you certain? I'm looking at his surveillance photo right now. Same person, I'm sure. Where are you?" "Home. He left an hour ago. Lock every door and window. I'm sending a team. Don't let anyone in until we arrive, not even him." Emma hung up, moved through the house in a daze, checking locks, drawing curtains. Atlas followed every step, vigilant and silent. Her phone buzzed. A text from David. "Can't sleep. Thinking about you. Can't wait for Saturday." Saturday, the wedding. In 3 days, she would have walked down the aisle to a man who wanted her dead. Emma's stomach heaved. She barely made it to the bathroom before vomiting. Atlas sat outside the door, waiting. Rodriguez arrived 30 minutes later with 4 marshals. They swept the house, checked for surveillance devices, found 3. Tiny cameras hidden in the living room, bedroom, and kitchen. Dmitry had been watching her for months. Emma sat on her couch, wrapped in a blanket despite the warm morning, shaking uncontrollably. "How did I not see it?" she whispered. "How was I so stupid?" "You weren't stupid," Rodriguez said. "He's a professional. This is what he does." Atlas knew. Emma looked at the dog lying at her feet. "He tried to warn me. I didn't listen." Rodriguez crouched in front of her. "We need you to continue as planned. Act normal. Don't let him know you figured it out." Emma's head snapped up. "What? Are you insane? If he realizes you know, he'll disappear. We'll never catch him. He'll try again, maybe months from now, when you think you're safe." Rodriguez's expression was grim. "Or he'll target someone else your father cared about. Friends, colleagues, your mother." Emma's blood went cold. Her mother. She hadn't even thought about her mother. "We need to catch him in the act," Rodriguez continued. "With evidence we can use in court. That means letting the wedding proceed." "You want me to marry him?" "We'll stop it before that, but we need him to show his hand, make his move. Whatever he's planning, it's happening soon." Emma wanted to scream, to run, to hide. But Rodriguez was right. If Dmitry escaped, the threat would never end. "What do I do?" "Act normal. Respond to his texts. Continue wedding preparations. We'll have agents everywhere. You'll never be alone. And Atlas stays with you constantly." The next 3 days were torture. Emma forced herself to smile, to text back, to discuss reception. Details. She met David for coffee and pretended everything was fine. He kissed her forehead, held her hand, looked at her with those lying eyes. Atlas never left her side. His tension was a constant reminder of the danger surrounding her. Wedding day arrived. Emma stood in the church dressing room, staring at herself in the mirror. White gown, flowers in her hair, makeup covering the dark circles under her eyes. She looked like a bride, She felt like bait. Her mother fussed with the train of her dress. "You look beautiful, sweetheart. Your father would be so proud." Emma's throat closed. If her father were alive, none of this would be happening. He would have seen through Dimitri instantly. A knock at the door. Rodriguez stepped in, dressed as a wedding guest. "Ready?" Emma nodded, couldn't speak. "Remember, we've got 20 agents in the church, 10 more outside. You're safe. Just get him to the altar. We'll handle the rest." Emma's mother looked confused. "Who's this?" "Old friend of Dad's," Emma managed. "Just saying hello." Rodriguez left. Emma's mother continued adjusting her veil, oblivious to the federal operation unfolding around them. Music started. The wedding march. Time to move. Emma picked up her bouquet. Atlas appeared at her side, wearing a formal vest. Rodriguez had suggested it. A service dog at a wedding wouldn't raise suspicion. They walked to the church entrance. Through the open doors, Emma could see the congregation. David stood at the altar, handsome in his tuxedo, smiling at his victim, walking toward execution. Emma's feet moved forward. 1 step, 2 steps. Atlas stopped, sat down directly in the doorway, blocked her path completely. Guests turned in their seats. Murmurs rippled through the church. David's smile tightened at the edges. "Atlas, move," Emma whispered. He didn't budge. His ears went flat against his skull. A low growl built in his chest. Emma's heart hammered. Something was wrong, more wrong than they'd anticipated. David started walking down the aisle toward them. His hand moved to his jacket pocket. Emma saw it in slow motion, the way his fingers curled around something hidden, the way his expression shifted from charming to cold. Atlas's growl became a snarl. Rodriguez materialized from the crowd. "Dmitry Volkov, U.S. Marshals, show me your hands." David froze. For one heartbeat, Emma thought he might surrender. Then he grabbed Emma's mother from the front pew, yanked her up. A gun appeared in his hand, pressed against her temple. Screams erupted. Guests dove under pews. Agents drew weapons but couldn't shoot without risking Emma's mother. "Everybody stays back," Dmitri shouted. His accent had dropped. His whole demeanor had transformed. This was the real man, cold, lethal, or she dies. Emma's mother was crying, shaking. "Emma, what's happening?" "It's okay, Mom," Emma said. Though nothing was okay, Dimitri's eyes locked on Emma. Pure hatred burned there. "Your father destroyed my family. My uncle died in prison. My cousin killed himself. All because of Harold Harris." "My father was doing his job," Emma said. Her voice came out steadier than she felt. "His job?" Dimitri laughed bitterly. "He was obsessed. He didn't stop at my uncle. He went after everyone. Froze assets, destroyed businesses, left us with nothing. You were criminals. We were family." Dimitri pressed the gun harder against Emma's mother's head. She whimpered. "And now you'll know what it's like to lose yours." Atlas tensed, every muscle coiled. Emma felt his energy, barely contained. Rodriguez spoke calmly. "Dimitri, there's no way out. Put down the weapon." "I'm walking out of here with her," Dimitri said, dragging Emma's mother toward the side exit. "Anyone follows, she's dead." Agents moved to block the door. Dimitri fired a shot into the ceiling. Plaster rained down. More screams. Next one goes in her head. The agents stepped aside. Dimitri backed toward the door, using Emma's mother as a shield. His eyes never left Emma. "This isn't over. I'll find you. Doesn't matter how long it takes." He was 3 feet from the exit when Atlas moved. The dog launched like a missile. 40 pounds of trained precision. He didn't go for Dimitri's throat, went for his gun hand. Jaws clamped down on Dimitri's wrist with crushing force. Dimitri screamed. The gun fell. Emma's mother broke free and ran. Dimitri tried to kick Atlas off. Atlas held on, shaking his head, driving Dimitri backward. 3 agents rushed forward, tackled Dimitri to the ground. Atlas released and backed away, standing guard over Emma. It was over in 5 seconds. Dimitri lay face down, wrists cuffed, screaming obscenities. Blood poured from his mangled arm. Agents hauled him up and dragged him toward the exit. As they passed Emma, Dimitri spat at her feet. "Your father's dead and you're next. My family doesn't forget." Then he was gone, shoved into a waiting vehicle. Sirens wailed as they drove away. Emma stood frozen in the church doorway. Her wedding dress felt like a costume. Her life felt like a stranger's. Atlas pressed against her legs. Warm, solid, real. Rodriguez approached carefully. Are you hurt? Emma shook her head, couldn't speak yet. Your mother? Emma looked across the church. Her mother sat in a pew, surrounded by concerned guests, pale but unhurt. She's okay, Emma whispered. Rodriguez exhaled slowly. That could have gone very differently. Emma looked down at Atlas. He gazed back with those intelligent golden eyes. He knew. This whole time he knew. He recognized Dmitri from the case files. His handler probably trained him on the Volkov family photos. When Dmitri approached you at that coffee shop, Atlas knew exactly who he was. Emma's legs gave out. She sat down hard on the church steps, bouquet falling from her numb hands. Atlas climbed into her lap, too big to fit, but trying anyway. She wrapped her arms around him and finally let herself cry. 2 days after the church incident, Rodriguez returned to Emma's house. She'd barely left her couch since Saturday. Still wore sweatpants and her father's old police academy shirt. Hadn't showered, couldn't sleep. Atlas lay pressed against her side, a constant warm presence in the wreckage of her life. Rodriguez sat across from her, a manila folder in his hands. He looked tired too. Lines creased his forehead that hadn't been there before. How are you holding up? Emma laughed. It came out hollow. I almost married a man sent to kill me. How do you think? Fair question. Rodriguez set the folder on the coffee table. I wanted to come explain everything. You deserve the full truth. Emma stared at the folder, didn't reach for it. Does it matter anymore? It might help, understanding what happened. Rodriguez opened the folder, pulled out photographs. The first showed Atlas as a puppy with a woman in uniform, the same woman from the email file Emma had received months ago. This is Deputy Marshal Caroline Fisher. Atlas's handler from 8 weeks old. She raised him, trained him, loved him like her own child. Emma studied the photo. Caroline had kind eyes, a warm smile. She looked young, maybe 30. Caroline specialized in high-risk witness protection, cases where standard protocols weren't enough, where the threats were sophisticated, patient, willing to wait years for an opening. Rodriguez pulled out another photo. She trained Atlas to recognize faces from case files, dozens of them. Crime family members, known associates, anyone who might pose a threat to protected witnesses. The second photo showed Atlas during training. He was staring at a board covered with surveillance pictures, completely focused. Your father's case was one she studied. The Volkov family was flagged as persistent. They'd gone after prosecutors before, intimidated witnesses. Caroline believed they'd try again eventually. Rodriguez's voice softened. She was right. 6 weeks ago. They found the Montana safe house. 3 witnesses from an unrelated case. Caroline died defending them. Emma's throat tightened. They were killed too. Yes, but Atlas survived, escaped during the attack. We searched for him. Found blood trails, but no body. Eventually presumed dead. He wasn't running away, Emma said quietly. He was running. Ninging toward something. Rodriguez nodded. Toward you. Your address was in the files he'd been trained on. He traveled over 800 miles across 3 states. Injured. Alone. He had a destination. Emma looked at Atlas. He'd been listening to every word, head tilted slightly. Why me? My father was already dead. Because the threat wasn't. Dmitri had been planning this for over a year. We found evidence after his arrest. Surveillance records, purchase receipts. He'd been building a false identity, waiting for the right moment. Rodriguez pulled out more documents, bank statements, property leases, background checks. He created David Chen 18 months ago. Pharmaceutical sales rep, clean history, good credit. He researched you thoroughly, knew your routines, your interests, your vulnerabilities. Each word felt like a knife. Emma had thought she was so careful, so guarded, but Dmitri had seen right through her defenses. The truck accident was convenient timing. Atlas was being transported to a new handler when it happened. But I think he would have found a way to reach you regardless. He knew you were in danger before we did. Emma ran her fingers through Atlas's fur. He leaned into her touch. He tried to warn me. For 6 months, he tried. He did his job perfectly, Rodriguez said. He identified the threat, protected you constantly. When Dmitri revealed himself, Atlas stopped him. Silence settled over the room. Outside, birds sang, normal life continuing while Emma's world remained shattered. Rodriguez closed the folder. Which brings me to why I'm really here. Emma looked up. Atlas is federal property. Technically, he belongs to the U.S. Marshals Service. We have protocols for canine assets, reassignment procedures. Emma's chest constricted. You're taking him. We'd like to. He's an extraordinary animal. His training represents years of investment. Dogs like him save lives. Rodriguez paused. We already have a new handler selected. Facility ready for his reintegration. Atlas's ears flicked back. He pressed closer to Emma. When? Emma's voice came out barely above a whisper. I can give you a week to say goodbye. A week. 7 days. Then Atlas would disappear from her life, just like everyone else she'd loved. Emma stood abruptly, walked to the window, wrapped her arms around herself. Atlas followed immediately, positioning himself between her and Rodriguez. He doesn't want to go back, she said. He's a working dog. He doesn't get to choose. He chose to come here. He chose to protect me. That has to mean something. Rodriguez stood too, approached carefully. Emma, I understand you've bonded, but Atlas has capabilities that could save other people. Keeping him here, living as a pet, it's a waste of his potential. He's not a tool. He's not a weapon. Emma turned to face Rodriguez. He's a living being who's already given everything. His mother died in service. His handler died. How much more does he have to sacrifice? That's not fair. None of this is fair. Emma's voice cracked. My father's dead. I almost died. Atlas lost everyone he loved. And now you want to send him back into that life? More danger? More trauma? Rodriguez's jaw tightened. I have my orders. Then disobey them. It's not that simple. Emma knelt beside Atlas, cupped his face in her hands. He gazed at her with complete trust, complete devotion. 6 months ago, he'd been a stranger. Now he was family. What if there was another option? Emma said slowly. Rodriguez frowned. What do you mean? What if I became his handler? You're a veterinarian, not a law enforcement officer. My father was a cop for 30 years. I grew up around police work. I understand protocols, procedures, chain of command. Emma stood, mind racing. Atlas has already proven he'll work with me. We have an established bond. You said yourself that's rare. Rodriguez was shaking his head before she finished. It's unprecedented. We don't have civilian handlers. Then make a precedent. You said dogs like Atlas save lives. He can't do that if he won't bond with a new handler. What if he refuses to work with anyone else? We'd retrain him. How long would that take? Months? Years? How many people might die while you're trying to rebuild what he already has with me? Rodriguez opened his mouth, closed it. Emma could see him thinking, weighing options. There's another consideration, she pressed. The Volkov family. Dmitri said his family doesn't forget. Even with him in custody, there could be others. I'm still a target. Doesn't it make sense to keep Atlas where he's already positioned to protect me? We can assign you protection. Rotating agents who don't know me? Who Atlas doesn't trust? Emma shook her head. Or the dog who's already proven he'll die before he lets anyone hurt me? Rodriguez was silent for a long moment. Outside, a car drove past. Inside, the clock on the wall ticked steadily. Finally, Rodriguez sighed. I'd have to make calls. Run it up the chain of command. Get approvals. Hope fluttered in Emma's chest. But it's possible? It's highly irregular. There would be conditions, training requirements, regular evaluations. You'd essentially be a contract handler, on call when we need Atlas for operations. I can do that. And your veterinary practice? I'll make it work. Hire another vet. Adjust my schedule. Whatever it takes. Rodriguez studied her face, looking for doubt maybe, uncertainty. Emma kept her expression steady. She'd never been more certain of anything. If I recommend this, and somehow it gets approved, you understand what you're agreeing to. This isn't keeping a pet. Atlas is a federal asset. He'll be deployed, put in danger. You'll have to watch him go into situations where he might not come back. Emma looked down at Atlas. He looked back, tail wagging slightly. He's already been through hell. At least this way he has a home to come back to. Rodriguez pulled out his phone. I'll make the calls. No promises. He stepped outside. Emma sat back down on the couch. Atlas climbed up beside her, rested his head on her lap. She stroked his ears, waiting. 20 minutes later, Rodriguez returned. His expression was unreadable. Well? Emma's heart hammered. You're out of your mind. My supervisor thinks I'm out of my mind. But he's willing to try it. Probationary period. 6 months. If Atlas performs to standard, and you complete handler certification, the arrangement becomes permanent. Emma's breath left in a rush. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. Handler certification is intense. Physical training, weapons qualification, legal protocols. You'll essentially be going through a modified version of our K9 officer program. I'll do it. Rodriguez handed her a business card. Report to this address Monday morning. 0600. Bring Atlas, bring running shoes. After Rodriguez left, Emma sat in the quiet house. 6 months ago, she'd been alone, grieving, going through motions. Now she had purpose, direction, a reason to wake up every morning. She looked at the mantel where her father's badge still sat, pulled out her phone, found the photo from Rodriguez's folder showing Caroline Fisher with Atlas. She'd print it, put it on the mantel next to her father's badge. A reminder of those who'd served, who'd sacrificed, who'd made it possible for her and Atlas to have this second chance. Atlas nudged her hand with his nose. She smiled, scratching behind his ears. We're going to be okay, she whispered. Both of us, together. His tail thumped against the couch cushion. For the first time in 2 years, Emma believed it. 6 months later, Emma stood in front of a full-length mirror adjusting her uniform. Dark blue pants, crisp white shirt, official U.S. Marshals K9 handler badge clipped to her belt. Her hair was pulled back in a tight bun. She looked professional. Competent. Nothing like the broken woman who'd sat on her couch in sweatpants half a year ago. Atlas sat beside her, wearing his tactical vest. He looked proud, ready. Think we can do this? Emma asked him. His tail wagged once, steady, confident. The certification had been brutal. 5 a.m. wake-ups, 10-mile runs, obstacle courses in mud and rain, weapons training until her hands ached. Legal procedures memorized until she dreamed in protocol numbers. Rodriguez had shown no mercy, neither had the other instructors, but Emma had passed, top marks in her class. Atlas had performed flawlessly in every evaluation. Today was their official ceremony, recognition as a certified federal K9 team. Emma's phone buzzed. Her mother, on my way, so proud of you, honey. Their relationship had been strained after the wedding incident. Her mother had needed therapy to process the trauma, but slowly, carefully, they'd rebuilt trust, found their way back to each other. A knock at the door. Rodriguez stepped in, also in dress uniform. Ready? As I'll ever be. They walked together to the town community center. Inside, rows of chairs faced a small stage. The room was already filling. Emma recognized colleagues from her veterinary clinic, neighbors, friends she'd made during training, and in the front row, Caroline Fisher's parents. Emma had reached out to them 2 months ago, sent a letter explaining how their daughter's legacy lived on through Atlas, how Caroline's training had saved Emma's life. They'd responded immediately, asked to meet, spent an afternoon sharing stories about Caroline, crying together, laughing together. Now they stood as Emma entered. Mrs. Fisher dabbed at her eyes. Mr. Fisher smiled, grief and pride mixing in his expression. The ceremony began. Rodriguez gave a speech about the history of the K9 program, the sacrifices handlers made, the importance of the human-animal bond in protection work. Then he called Emma and Atlas to the stage. They climbed the steps together. Atlas's nails clicked on the wood floor. The crowd applauded. Cameras flashed. Rodriguez held up a medal for extraordinary service in the identification and neutralization of a credible threat, and for unwavering dedication to duty. K9 Atlas is awarded the Marshal Service Medal of Valor. He fastened the medal to Atlas's vest. Atlas sat perfectly still, dignified, and for exceptional performance during handler certification and commitment to federal service, Emma Harris is recognized as an official contract K9 handler. Rodriguez shook her hand. The crowd stood, applauding louder. Emma looked out at the faces. All these people who'd supported her journey, who'd believed she could rebuild after everything fell apart. The local news had covered the story. Video footage from the church security cameras had gone viral. Headlines read, "Hero Dog Stops Wedding, Saves Bride from Hitman." Over 100 million views online. Interview requests flooded in daily. Emma declined them all. This wasn't about fame. It was about service. After the ceremony, Caroline's parents approached. Mrs. Fisher hugged Emma tightly. "Thank you for honoring her memory. She trained him to be exactly what I needed," Emma said. "I owe her everything." Mr. Fisher knelt in front of Atlas, extended his hand. Atlas sniffed it, then gently placed his paw in the older man's palm. The same gesture he'd made to Emma under that bridge 6 months ago. Mr. Fisher's face crumpled. He has Caroline's courage, her heart. Atlas leaned forward, rested his head against Mr. Fisher's chest. Let the man hold him while he cried. Mrs. Fisher pulled a photograph from her purse. "We brought this for you, if you'd like it." Emma took the photo carefully. It showed Caroline in training gear, laughing, with a young Atlas jumping to catch a ball. Both of them full of life, full of joy. "I'd be honored," Emma whispered. That evening, Emma drove home with Atlas in the passenger seat. The metal gleamed on his vest. Her official badge sat on the dashboard. The setting sun painted everything golden. At home, Emma placed Caroline's photo on the mantel, right next to her father's badge. 2 protectors, 2 heroes, forever remembered. Atlas settled on the couch with a satisfied groan. Emma sat beside him, stroking his fur. "We did it, buddy. We actually did it." Her phone rang. "Rodriguez. Emma, I've got a situation. Child custody case in Seattle. Potentially violent father. Mother's in hiding with the kids. We need a protection detail." Emma's pulse quickened. Their first real assignment. "When?" "Tomorrow morning, 0600. Can you be ready?" Emma looked at Atlas. He was already watching her, alert and focused. He'd heard every word. "We'll be there," Emma said. After she hung up, she sat quietly for a moment. This was her life now. Danger, uncertainty, constant vigilance, but also purpose, meaning. The chance to protect people who couldn't protect themselves. Just like her father had. Just like Caroline had. Emma walked to the window. Outside, the neighborhood was settling into evening. Porch lights flickering on. Families gathering for dinner. Normal life continuing all around her. She'd never have normal, not anymore. But she had something better. She had a mission. Atlas joined her at the window, stood beside her, shoulder pressed against her leg. "Partners, family. Your mom would be proud of you," Emma said softly. "Caroline, she'd be so proud." Atlas's tail wagged gently. Emma thought about that day under the bridge. A muddy, traumatized dog placing his paw in her hand. 2 broken souls recognizing each other. She'd thought she was rescuing him. But really, he'd been rescuing her. Saving her from loneliness, from purposelessness, from a life half-lived in the shadow of grief. "Thank you," she whispered, "for finding me." Atlas looked up at her with those intelligent golden eyes. In their depths, she saw understanding, acceptance, love. The doorbell rang. Emma's mother, arriving for dinner as promised. A weekly tradition they'd started. Slowly rebuilding, slowly healing. Emma opened the door. Her mother hugged her, then bent to greet Atlas. He accepted her affection graciously, tail wagging. They ate together, talked about everything and nothing, made plans for the weekend. Emma's mother asked about the Seattle assignment, worried as mothers do. "I'll be careful," Emma promised. "I know you will. You're your father's daughter." Her mother smiled through tears. "He'd be so proud of who you've become." After her mother left, Emma prepared for the next day, packed her go-bag, checked Atlas's gear, reviewed the case files Rodriguez had sent. At midnight, she finally crawled into bed. Atlas took his usual position in the doorway, still on guard, still protecting. "Get some rest, buddy. Big day tomorrow." Atlas settled down, but kept his eyes open, watching, waiting. Emma drifted towards sleep. Her last thought was of Caroline and her father. Somewhere, somehow, she hoped they knew that their sacrifice hadn't been wasted, that their legacy continued, that 2 broken souls had found each other and chosen to keep fighting. Morning came too soon. Emma woke to Atlas's gentle whine. 3 minutes before her alarm, as always. She smiled, got up, got ready. They loaded into her car as the sun rose. The drive to Seattle would take 3 hours. Atlas rode in the passenger seat, alert and calm. Emma turned on the radio. Soft music filled the car. She glanced at Atlas. He glanced back. No words needed. They understood each other perfectly. The highway stretched ahead. Unknown challenges waiting. Danger lurking. But Emma wasn't afraid. Not with Atlas beside her. Sometimes heroes don't wear badges, she thought. Sometimes they walk on four paws. Sometimes they appear under bridges in the rain, muddy and broken, and change your life forever. Sometimes they stop you at a doorway, save you from walking into disaster, give you a reason to keep going when everything else has fallen apart. Emma reached over, rested her hand on Atlas's head. He leaned into her touch. Whatever comes next, she said quietly, we face it together. Atlas's tail thumped against the seat. The sun climbed higher. The road continued on, and two unlikely partners drove toward their future, toward purpose, toward hope, toward home. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Drop a dog emoji in the comments if you believe dogs are Earth's true heroes, because sometimes the greatest love isn't found at an altar. Sometimes it finds you on a rainy highway, and sometimes it saves your life by stopping you at the door.